It started like most things do, with something small, something easy to ignore, something that didn't seem important until it was. There's a certain kind of silence that only exists inside old houses. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that feels heavy, like the walls are listening, like something happened there long before you arrived. And in the winter of 2011, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, one family began to notice that silence changing. Emily Carter was 5 years old. Small for her age, quiet, the kind of child who didn't throw tantrums, didn't demand attention, didn't make trouble. But she drew. Constantly. Her parents used to joke that if you left her alone for more than 10 minutes, she'd come back with another sheet of paper filled with crayon sketches. Stick figures, flowers, sunny skis. Normal things. At least at first. It began when her mother, Lisa, noticed something odd one evening. Emily was sitting on the living room floor, surrounded by crayons, her tongue slightly poking out in concentration. Lisa smiled. "Another masterpiece?" she asked playfully. Emily didn't respond. She just kept drawing. Slowly, carefully, almost too carefully for a 5-year-old. Lisa walked over, curious. And when she looked down at the paper, she paused. It was a drawing of their house, but not from the front, from the inside. Lisa frowned slightly. That wasn't unusual by itself, but the perspective was strange. It was as if Emily had drawn the house, cut open. Like a dollhouse. Rooms stacked on top of each other. Every detail oddly specific. The kitchen, the staircase, her parents' bedroom, even the small storage room in the basement, a place Emily had never been allowed to enter. "Sweetie, what is this?" Lisa asked. Emily didn't look up. "Our house." Lisa nodded slowly. "And what's this room?" She pointed to the basement storage. Emily's crayon hovered for a second. Then she said something that didn't make sense. "That's where the man stands." Lisa felt a small chill crawl up her spine. "A man?" she asked, forcing a light tone. "What man?" Emily finally looked up. Her expression was blank. Not scared. Not playful. Just certain. "The one who comes out at night." For a moment, Lisa laughed. Not because it was funny, but because that's what people do when something doesn't fit into reality. "Did you see that in a dream?" she asked. Emily shook her head. "No." "Then where?" Emily pointed, not at the drawing, but toward the hallway. Lisa followed her gaze. Nothing was there. Of course. Nothing ever is at first. That night, Lisa told her husband, Daniel. He brushed it off immediately. "She's 5, he said. "Kids imagine things." And he wasn't wrong. Children create imaginary friends, monsters under beds, shadows that move. It's normal. It's expected. But something about the drawing stayed with Lisa. Not the idea of a man, but the detail, the precision, the way Emily had drawn parts of the house she shouldn't have known about. The next day, Lisa went into the basement, specifically the storage room. It was always locked. Old boxes, broken furniture, things they hadn't touched in years. She opened the door. The smell hit her first. Dust, wood, something stale. The room was exactly how she remembered it. Nothing out of place. No sign of anyone being there. She exhaled, almost relieved. "See," she whispered to herself, "just imagination." And for a moment, she believed it. Until 3 nights later. It was just past midnight. The kind of hour where everything feels quieter than it should. Lisa woke up suddenly. No sound. No reason. Just awake. She lay there staring at the ceiling. Then she heard it. A faint noise. From downstairs. At first, she thought it was the house settling. Old wood creaking. Pipes shifting. But then, it happened again. A soft, dragging sound. Lisa sat up slowly, her heart beginning to pound. "Daniel," she whispered. He didn't wake. The sound came again. Closer this time. And unmistakable. Something moving. She got out of bed. Each step careful, quiet. The hallway was dark. The air felt colder. As she reached the top of the stairs, she hesitated. Something inside her told her not to go further. But another part, the part that needed to know, pushed her forward. Step by step, she descended. The sound stopped. At the bottom, she stood still, listening. Nothing. She almost turned back, almost convinced herself it was nothing. Until she saw it. The basement door. It was open. Just slightly. Lisa froze. She was certain, absolutely certain, that she had closed it earlier that day. Locked it. Her throat went dry. "Hello," she called softly. No response. She stepped closer. The door creaked as she pushed it open. And for a moment, everything felt normal. The basement was dark, silent, empty. But then, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The storage room door was open. Lisa's breath caught. She didn't move, couldn't move, because in that moment, a thought entered her mind. Not a loud one, not a dramatic one, just a quiet, horrifying realization. Emily had drawn this. Slowly, Lisa reached for the light switch. Click. The basement flooded with pale yellow light. And for a second, nothing happened. Then she looked toward the storage room. And she saw it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A shape, standing just inside the doorway. Too tall, too still. Lisa's heart slammed against her chest. Her body refused to move. Her mind struggled to understand what she was seeing. And then, the shape shifted, just slightly. And that was enough. Lisa screamed. The lights flickered. And when they stabilized, the doorway was empty. Nothing there. Nothing at all. Daniel came rushing down moments later. Panicked, confused. What happened? Lisa couldn't speak. She just pointed toward the storage room. Daniel checked everything. Every corner. Every shadow. Nothing. "There's nothing here," he said firmly. "You must have imagined it." But Lisa knew what she saw. Or at least, she thought she did. The next morning, Emily was drawing again. Lisa sat beside her, watching closely, carefully. "Emily," she said softly, "can you show me the man again?" Emily nodded. Without hesitation, she picked up a black crayon and began to draw. This time slower, more detailed. Lisa felt her stomach tighten as the figure took shape. Tall, thin, standing in a doorway. But what made Lisa's breath stop was what Emily added next. A second figure, a woman, standing at the bottom of the stairs. Frozen, watching. Lisa's hands began to tremble. "Emily," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "How do you know this?" Emily didn't look up, didn't hesitate, didn't even pause her drawing. She simply said, because he saw you too. And in that moment, Lisa realized something far worse than fear. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't a dream. And whatever Emily had drawn, it was no longer just inside the paper. It was inside the house. And it knew. They had noticed. There's something deeply unsettling about a child's imagination. Not because it's wild, but because sometimes it is. After the incident in the basement, Lisa stopped sleeping. Not fully. Not deeply. Every creak in the house felt like a warning. Every shadow felt intentional. But what disturbed her the most wasn't what she saw. It was what Emily drew. Because over the next few days, the drawings didn't stop. They evolved. At first, Lisa tried to keep things normal. Breakfast at the same time. Cartoons in the morning. Bedtime stories at night. Routine. Because routine meant control. And control meant safety. But Emily wasn't following the routine anymore. She became quieter. More distant. Not in a sad way. Not in a scared way. But in a way that felt detached. Like she was paying attention to something else. Something no one else could see. And every day she drew, Lisa started keeping them. Every single drawing. Filing them in a drawer in the kitchen. At first, it was just a precaution. Then it became an obsession. Because when she looked closely, she noticed something terrifying. The drawings were changing over time. Not randomly. Not creatively. Progressively. Each drawing showed the same house. The same rooms. The same figures. But something was always different. In one drawing, the figure stood in the basement. In another, it stood at the bottom of the stairs. In the next, it was halfway up. Lisa's chest tightened every time she flipped to the next page. It was moving. Not in real life. Not yet. But in the drawings. It was getting closer. And then one morning, Emily drew something new. Something that made Lisa's hands go cold. It was the living room. And the figure was inside it, standing behind the couch. Watching, Lisa felt a wave of nausea rise in her stomach. "Emily," she whispered carefully, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why is he here now?" Emily didn't look up. "He's getting closer," she said. Lisa swallowed. "Why?" Emily finally paused, her crayon hovering above the page. Then she said something that would stay with Lisa forever. "Because you saw him." Silence filled the room. Heavy, unforgiving. Lisa felt her pulse in her throat. "What do you mean?" she asked, barely breathing. Emily looked at her, and for the first time, there was something in her eyes. Not fear. Recognition. "He didn't like that," Emily said softly. Lisa didn't respond. She couldn't. Because deep down, she already knew. That night, Lisa made a decision. They were leaving. Not forever. Just for a few days. A hotel. Somewhere bright. Somewhere safe. Daniel resisted at first. "This is getting out of hand," he said. "We're not abandoning our house because of a drawing." But Lisa didn't argue. She just showed him the drawings. All of them. In order. Daniel didn't speak for a long time. And that silence said everything. They packed that night. Quietly. Quickly. Emily didn't question it. Didn't ask why. Didn't resist. She just watched. And as Lisa zipped up the last bag, she noticed Emily sitting at the table. Drawing again. Lisa hesitated, then walked over. "Emily," she said gently, "what are you drawing now?" Emily turned the paper around, and Lisa's heart stopped. It was the hotel room. Every detail. The bed, the window, the door, and standing in the corner, the same figure, closer than ever. Lisa felt the world tilt. "We haven't even gone there yet," she whispered. Emily shrugged slightly. "He knows where we're going." The air in the room changed. Daniel grabbed the drawing. "Okay, that's enough," he said firmly. "We're leaving now." They didn't wait, didn't hesitate. Within minutes, they were in the car, driving. The house disappeared behind them, but the feeling didn't. The hotel was bright, modern, full of people, the kind of place that felt impossible to be afraid in. And for a moment, it worked. Lisa breathed easier. Daniel relaxed. Even Emily seemed lighter. They ordered food, watched TV, tried to pretend everything was normal. But normal was already gone. That night around 2 a.m., Lisa woke up again. The same way. Suddenly, without reason, her eyes adjusted to the dim light of the room. Everything looked still, peaceful, until she heard it. A soft, familiar sound. Dragging. Lisa's blood ran cold. "No," she whispered. She turned slowly, toward the corner of the room. Nothing. Just shadows. Her breathing quickened. "This isn't real," she told herself. "This isn't happening." Then, she looked at Emily's bed. Empty. Lisa's heart dropped. "Emily," she whispered urgently. No answer. She got up quickly, scanning the room. The bathroom door was slightly open. A faint light flickered inside. "Emily," she called louder now. She pushed the door open and froze. Emily was standing in front of the mirror. Still, completely still. "Emily," Lisa said, her voice trembling, "what are you doing?" Slowly, Emily raised her hand and pointed, not at herself, at the reflection behind her. Lisa's breath caught, because for a split second, she saw it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A shape, standing behind Emily. Too tall, too still. Lisa screamed and pulled Emily away. The lights flickered violently. And then, darkness. Complete darkness. For 3 seconds, everything disappeared. And in those 3 seconds, Lisa heard something right next to her ear. A whisper, so faint, so close. "You saw me." The light snapped back on. The bathroom was empty. Nothing there. Nothing at all. Emily clung to Lisa tightly. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them slept. The next morning, they left. Not just the hotel. The city. They didn't go back for their things. Didn't say goodbye. They just left. And for a while, it worked. The drawing stopped. The sound stopped. The feeling faded. Until 1 year later, when Emily picked up a crayon again and drew something she had never drawn before. A boy standing in a room, holding a piece of paper, and on that paper was a drawing of something terrible that hadn't happened yet. There's a strange pattern that emerges when you start paying attention to things most people ignore. Patterns in behavior, Patterns in fear. Patterns in the things children try to show us before anyone else understands. A year passed. Quietly, almost peacefully, Lisa and Daniel never spoke about what happened. Not directly. It became one of those unspoken agreements couples make when something is too heavy to carry out loud. They moved to a different town, a smaller place, brighter, new walls, new furniture, no basement, no locked doors, no history. And for a while, it felt like they had escaped. Emily changed too. She laughed more, played outside, made friends, and most importantly, she stopped drawing. For months, Lisa didn't see a single crayon in her hands. And that alone felt like healing. Until one afternoon. It was raining outside. Soft, steady drops tapping against the windows. The kind of day where everything slows down. Lisa was in the kitchen when she heard it. The sound she hadn't heard in over a year. Crayons sliding across paper. Her entire body tensed. Slowly, carefully, she walked toward the living room. And there Emily was, sitting on the floor, head tilted slightly, drawing. Lisa felt her chest tighten. "Emily," she said gently. No response. "Sweetie, what are you drawing?" Emily turned the paper around. And for a moment, Lisa didn't understand what she was looking at. It wasn't their house. It wasn't the hotel. It was somewhere else. A room she didn't recognize. There was a bed, a desk, a window, and standing in the middle of the room was a boy, roughly the same age as Emily. Lisa frowned slightly. "Who was that?" she asked. Emily shrugged. "I don't know," she said. Lisa blinked. "Then why are you drawing him?" Emily looked back at the paper and said something that made the air feel heavier. "Because he's going to need help." Lisa's stomach dropped. "Help with what?" Emily didn't answer. She just kept drawing. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of something worse. Recognition. It was happening again. Different drawing, different subject, same feeling. The next morning, Lisa made a decision. This time, she wasn't going to ignore it. She sat down with Emily. Gently, carefully. "Emily," she said softly, "can you tell me more about the boy?" Emily nodded. "He's scared," she said. Lisa leaned in slightly. "Why?" Emily hesitated, then whispered, "Because of what he's going to do." Lisa's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Emily looked up, and this time, there was something in her eyes. Not fear, guilt. "He doesn't want to," she said, "but it's going to happen anyway." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "What's going to happen, Emily?" But Emily just shook her head. "I'm not supposed to say." The words hit Lisa like a punch to the chest. Not supposed to say. The same phrase. The same pattern. Different story. Same rules. Over the next few days, the drawings continued. Lisa documented everything. Photos, dates, details. Because now, she understood something she hadn't before. These weren't just drawings. They were timelines. Each new drawing revealed more. The boy had a room filled with papers, drawings, notes. In one picture, he was sitting at his desk, writing something. In another, he stood by a window, looking out. And always, there was something else in the room. Not as clear as before, not as defined, but present. A shadow, watching. Lisa's heart sank every time she saw it, because even though it wasn't the same figure from before, it felt connected, like whatever had followed them wasn't finished. One evening, Lisa noticed something new. In the latest drawing, the boy was holding something, a piece of paper. Lisa leaned closer, and her breath caught, because drawn on that paper was another image, a crude sketch of a building, large, rectangular, with rows of windows. Lisa frowned. "What is this?" she asked. Emily looked at it. "It's where he goes every day," she said. Lisa's mind started racing. "A school." Emily nodded slowly. Lisa felt a growing sense of dread, because suddenly, the pieces were starting to form something she didn't want to see. That night, Lisa sat at her computer. She uploaded the drawing, posted it anonymously in forums, parent groups, art communities, anywhere someone might recognize the building. At first, nothing. Then hours later, a message, a single reply. "This looks exactly like Jefferson Elementary in Pine Ridge." Lisa stared at the screen, her pulse quickening. Pine Ridge, a town just over an hour away. Her hands trembled as she looked back at the drawing, then back at the message. Coincidence? Maybe. But after everything she'd seen, everything she'd experienced, she couldn't ignore it. The next morning, Lisa made a decision. She got in the car, and she drove the entire way. Her mind raced with possibilities. "This is insane," she whispered to herself. "We're chasing a drawing." But deep down, she knew this wasn't random. When she arrived, her breath caught, because there it was. The building, exactly as Emily had drawn it. Same shape, same windows, same entrance. Lisa felt a wave of cold wash over her. This isn't possible. But it was, and that meant one thing. The boy was real. Lisa sat in her car for a long time, watching, waiting. Children walked in and out, laughing, running. Normal, completely normal. But somewhere in that building was a child who didn't know what was coming. And somehow, Emily did. Back home, Lisa confronted her. "Emily," she said firmly, "the boy you're drawing, he's real, isn't he?" Emily nodded. Lisa's heart pounded. "What's his name?" Emily hesitated, then whispered, "I don't know his name." Lisa clenched her hands. "But you know something going to happen." Emily nodded again. Tears filled her eyes. "I see it when I close my eyes," she said. Lisa's voice softened. "See what?" Emily looked up, and what she said next changed everything. "I see the day." Lisa froze. "What day?" Emily's voice broke slightly. "The day everyone starts screaming." Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Lisa felt like the air had been pulled from the room. "Emily," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What happens on that day?" Emily shook her head rapidly. "I don't want to draw it," she said. "I don't want to see it again." Lisa felt tears sting her eyes. But she knew. She already knew. And the worst part, it hadn't happened yet. There's a moment right before something terrible happens, where everything still feels normal. People laugh, phones buzz, conversations drift through the air like nothing could ever go wrong. And that's what makes it worse, because when it finally does happen, it doesn't feel real. It feels like something you've already seen somewhere before. Lisa didn't sleep that night. Not after what Emily said. Not after the words. The day everyone starts screaming. They echoed in her mind, over and over. Relentless. She sat in the living room, the drawing spread across the table like evidence in a case no one else believed existed. A boy, a school, a shadow, a moment that hadn't happened yet, but was getting closer. Lisa knew she had a choice. Ignore it, or act. And this time, she refused to make the same mistake twice. The next morning, Lisa drove back to Pine Ridge. But this time, she didn't stay in the car. She walked straight to the front office of the school, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it might betray her. The receptionist smiled politely. "Can I help you?" Lisa hesitated, just for a second. Because how do you explain something like this? How do you tell someone that your daughter has been drawing a future that hasn't happened yet? You can't. So Lisa did the only thing she could. She lied. "I think one of your students might be in danger," she said. The words felt heavy, unstable. The receptionist's smile faded slightly. "In what way?" Lisa swallowed. I don't know exactly," she admitted, "but I think something bad is going to happen here." The silence that followed was uncomfortable, suspicious, and completely expected. "Ma'am," the receptionist said carefully, "if you have specific information, you need to contact the authorities." Lisa nodded quickly. "I will," she said. I needed to come here first." But deep down, she knew, without proof, without something real, no one would listen. Back in her car, Lisa's hands shook. "This isn't enough," she whispered. She needed more. She needed something undeniable. That night, she asked Emily to draw again. At first, Emily refused, shaking her head, tears forming in her eyes. "I don't want to see it," she said. Lisa knelt in front of her. "I know," she said softly, "but if we don't understand it, we can't stop it." Emily hesitated, her small hands trembling. "Will it make it go away?" she asked. Lisa paused, just for a second, then nodded. Yes, it was a lie, but it was the only way forward. Emily picked up a crayon, and slowly, reluctantly, she began to draw. Lisa watched every line, every stroke, every detail. Her heart sank with each passing second. Because this drawing was different, darker, heavier. It showed the same school, the same boy. But now, he wasn't alone. There were other children, teachers, hallways filled with life. And then, Lisa saw it. The boy's hand, reaching into his backpack. Her breath caught. "Emily," she whispered, "what is he doing?" Emily didn't answer. She just kept drawing. And then, she added it. A shape. Dark. Cold. Something no child should ever draw. Lisa felt her vision blur. "No," she whispered. But Emily kept going. Because she had to. Because whatever she was seeing was already happening somewhere. The next drawing was worse. The hallway. Children running. Faces twisted in fear. And the boy, standing still. Lisa couldn't breathe. Her worst fear was unfolding on paper, and there was no denying it now. This wasn't imagination. This was a warning. The next morning, Lisa didn't hesitate. She went to the police. This time, with everything: the drawings, the timeline, the location. At first, they didn't take her seriously, but something about the details, the consistency, the precision, made them pause. And that pause was enough. An officer was sent to the school. Quietly, discreetly. They didn't want to cause panic, didn't want to overreact, but they couldn't ignore it either. And that's when they found him. A boy, sitting in class, quiet, reserved, just like Emily had drawn. They checked his backpack, and inside, they found it, exactly as it had been drawn. The room fell silent. Time seemed to stop, because in that moment, the impossible had become real. The boy was taken into custody. Quietly, without chaos. No one else knew. Not yet. But something had been stopped. Something terrible. Something that would have changed everything. Lisa sat in her living room later that day, the weight of it all finally crashing down. She should have felt relieved, grateful, but instead, she felt something else, something colder. Because as she looked at the drawings again, she noticed something she hadn't before. A detail, small, almost invisible. In the corner of the final drawing, there was a shadow, not near the boy, not near the other children, but near the window. Watching, Lisa's breath caught, because it was familiar, too familiar. It wasn't new. It wasn't part of this story. It was from before, from the house, from the basement, from the hotel. The same shape, the same presence, the same thing that had followed them. Lisa's hands began to tremble, because suddenly, everything made sense. Or rather, nothing did. This wasn't just about the boy. This wasn't just about the drawings. This was about something else. Something that didn't belong to one place, one time, one person. Something that moved, watched, waited, and somehow, it was connected to Emily. Lisa looked toward the hallway, where Emily's room sat quietly at the end. And for the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt before. Not fear of the unknown, but fear of the truth. Because whatever had helped them stop that day was still here, and it wasn't finished. There are stories that end with relief, closure, a sense that everything is finally over. This isn't one of them. Because sometimes, the danger isn't the event. It's the thing that leads to it. The thing that watches, waits, guides, and never truly leaves. After the incident at the school, everything changed. News never broke. No headlines, no panic. It was handled quietly, carefully. A situation prevented, a misunderstanding, a disturbed child who needed help. And maybe that's how it had to be. But Lisa knew the truth. She had seen it unfold before it ever happened. And that meant one thing. The drawings weren't random. They were messages. For weeks, Emily didn't draw again. She seemed exhausted, drained in a way Lisa couldn't explain. Sometimes, Lisa would find her just sitting quietly, staring at nothing. "Emily?" she'd ask gently. Emily would blink, like she was coming back from somewhere far away. "I'm okay," she'd say. But Lisa wasn't convinced, because whatever Emily had experienced, it had taken something from her. One night, about a month later, Lisa woke up again. But this time, there was no sound, no movement, no reason, just a feeling. The same one, the one she thought she had left behind. She sat up slowly. The house was quiet, too quiet. And then, she saw it, at the end of the hallway, a shadow, standing just outside Emily's room. Lisa's heart stopped. Not racing, not pounding, just stopped. Because this time, there was no doubt. She wasn't imagining it. The shape didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't react. It just stood there, watching. Lisa forced herself to stand, step forward. Every instinct screamed at her to stop, to run, to look away. But she didn't, because this wasn't just fear anymore. This was understanding. "Why?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The shadow didn't respond. Of course it didn't. But something shifted. Not in the hallway, in the air. Lisa took another step. "You showed her things," she said. "You made her draw them." Silence. "But why?" she asked again. And then, something happened. Not physically, not visibly, but unmistakably. A thought, not her own, not spoken, but heard. "So you would see." Lisa's breath caught. "What do you want?" she whispered. The answer came instantly. To be seen. A cold realization settled over her. This wasn't a monster. Not in the way she had imagined. It didn't break in, didn't attack, didn't destroy. It revealed. Lisa's voice trembled. "The boy, the school, that was you." A pause. Then, "No." Lisa frowned slightly. "Then what are you?" Silence. Longer this time. "Then, I show what comes." Lisa's mind struggled to process it. "You show it," she whispered, "to those who can see." Her heart tightened. "Emily," she said softly. The shadow didn't move. But somehow, she understood. Emily wasn't chosen, not targeted. She was capable. Lisa swallowed hard. "Why her?" The answer came slower this time. "Because she listens." Tears filled Lisa's eyes. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The drawings, the timelines, the warnings. It wasn't haunting them. It was using her to show something. "But the first time," Lisa said slowly, "in the house, why were you there?" Silence. "Then, you weren't supposed to see me." Lisa's breath hitched. "But I did." "Yes." "And that changed things." A pause. Then, "Yes." Lisa looked toward Emily's door. "She's not going to stop, is she?" The silence that followed was answer enough. Because some things don't end. They continue. Quietly, patiently, waiting for the next moment, the next person, the next warning. Lisa took a deep breath. "Then tell me one thing," she said. "If you show what's coming." Her voice shook slightly. "Can it be stopped?" The longest silence yet. So long that for a moment, Lisa thought it was gone. that it had disappeared. But then, sometimes, and just like that, the hallway was empty. The shadow gone. Lisa stood there for a long time, not moving, not thinking, just processing. The next morning, Emily was at the table again, a blank sheet of paper in front of her, a crayon in her hand. Lisa watched from the doorway, her heart heavy, but her mind clear. "Emily," she said softly. Emily looked up. "Are you going to draw again?" Emily nodded slowly. Lisa hesitated, then asked the question that mattered most. "What do you see?" Emily looked down at the paper and whispered, "Something new." Lisa felt a chill run through her body. "Is it bad?" Emily didn't answer right away. She just started drawing, slowly, carefully, and as the image began to form, Lisa realized something terrifying. Not because of what it was, but because of what it meant. This wasn't over. It was never going to be over. Because somewhere, at some time, something was always about to happen. And someone had to see it first. The only question was, would they understand it in time? Or would it become just another drawing that no one took seriously until it was too late?